I am very excited to have you all here with us. The session is focused on Agentforce. We have a series of sessions that Amit only started with. We're excited to have him back on high demand. And just before we get started, a quick introduction about me. My name is Kati Mehta, and I'm working as a global lead talent initiative Salesforce at SmartBridge. I am a Salesforce advocate, group leader of Service Blazer APAC Group, has been transitioned recently, and also a marketing champion and a Trailblazer Community Forum ambassador. We have wonderful speaker today with us, Amit Singh, popularly known as SFDC Panther. He is also a veteran Salesforce MVP, Lightning Champion, and also a seasoned technical architect with over 8 years of experience. He's the founder of Panther Schools and the Panther YouTube channel, where he shares tutorials, blogs, and courses on Salesforce development, flows, LWC, and DevOps. Passionate about community learning, Amit has helped thousands of learners through his practical content and deep technical expertise. So we are very excited to have you with us back again, Amit. Over to you.
Thanks, Kathy. Thanks for again for the wonderful introduction. One quick correction. I think the number of years has been now changed to 11. It might be the old introduction that you've got, especially for the years. Yeah. So, hi everyone. I think again I'm really happy to see you all at the Friday evening, where most of the people basically plans to enjoy the evening. I really don't have the PPT today. I'm not going to basically bore you with the boring content that I usually come with. What I'll do is I'll quickly navigate to my screen, and before I do that, I would basically would like to let you know that today's we are going to talk about what exactly and how exactly you can utilize Agentforce for developers if you are a developer, and how basically you can write the code, the Apex classes, triggers, or how you can basically write the Lightning Web components and their test cases, obviously. So Agentforce for developers is a kind of an AI assistant which Salesforce has developed. They have got Agentforce for developers backed up by their own custom LLM called uh, SFR. That is their LLM basically, and that LLM is actually really important. And that LLM is specifically developed for Salesforce only. So whenever we are providing a prompt and we say that, hey, can you give us this piece of code related to LWC, triggers, or Apex classes, this basically gives you the code because it is completely trained on Salesforce, and they are able to give you the perfect code. But to get the correct result, to get the perfect response, the result that you're looking for, you really have to follow certain best practices, which we are going to talk about today. So first of all, Agentforce for developers is basically a VS Code extension. This doesn't work on as of now. It is not working natively on Salesforce. So you have to utilize VS Code extension to get use, or maybe use that Agentforce for developers. And you need to have a basically a sandbox, or maybe a production or a developer org, which you can connect with your VS Code. I already have opened my VS Code, which is basically connected with one of my org called integration. So this is one of my org which I'm already connected with the VS Code. I will not cover how basically you connect with VS Code. If you really need to know, you can put in the comment and we will share some videos how you can connect VS Code with Salesforce. So after you have connected VS Code with Salesforce, the next step is basically you need to make sure that you enable Agentforce for developers. So what we do is basically we navigate to Salesforce and we search for Agentforce. And as soon as you search for Agentforce, if it is not the org which already has the Agentforce enabled, then basically you you will get that Agentforce for developers. If you are utilizing a developer org, which is basically a new developer org where Agentforce is already enabled, then you might see many other options. But you are basically focusing on this Agentforce for developers. click on this link. By default, Salesforce itself is enabling this for every Salesforce org. So you will basically see a toggle which will say that disable Agentforce for developers in this org. So if you see this if you see this toggle, you really don't need to work with this toggle. But if this toggle is enabled, then you need to disable this, because if this is enabled, that means you are disabling the Agentforce for developers, and that is basically is not going to work in your VS Code. So that is the key thing over here. Next thing is that in your VS Code, if you are a developer, you already have that extension installed. But if you are not a developer, you basically have to install one extension called Salesforce extension pack, and that extension actually gives you every single thing. So Salesforce extension pack, or you can install this one, Salesforce extension pack, or you can install Salesforce extension pack expanded. Both are basically managed by Salesforce, and under this you will have multiple extension, and one of the extension is Agentforce for developers. You can install this individually as well. It's not like that you cannot install it individually. You can search for Agentforce for developers. So you will find that extension is there. For me, it is already installed, and it might have updated with the recent update. That is why it is asking me to restart the extension. And I click on restart the extension. You will see that has that button is now no longer there. So this was a simple setup which you basically have to do within your VS Code and within your Salesforce. Once your extension is installed, in the VS Code extension, basically on the bottom of side, you will see a little bit icon. Basically, that is the Einstein icon, which says that your Agentforce is enabled or not enabled. So if this is not enabled, you will might see a reddish icon over here, which says that this extension is not enabled, or A4D is not enabled. Also, one more thing that you will see is on the left hand side, you will see there will be an Agentforce icon, and below that there will be one more icon for writing the test cases. Okay, and we will focus on this Agentforce, which is Dev Assistant, which is going to help us to write the code, or that is also going to help us to help us in modifying the code as well. And this is what we are going to talk about, how basically you are going to write effective prompts in order to get the intended result. So I will basically utilize and I will refer the Salesforce documentation, which basically they have written, and the document is really effective. I will be sharing at the end of this session, so that you can also refer the document, which they have basically talked about what are the different ways and what are the effective ways to write the commands or write the prompts. So we can start with maybe any developer which who wants to start. They can just write maybe you can say simple. You can say create an Apex class, and you can say named, and it could be any name like port generator. So this is a simple action that you're asking your to your Agentforce, which says that, hey, could you please create an Apex class where the name is code generator. Okay, this is a maybe a simple uh, class, simple command, simple action that you have given, right? Now this is not a good way to write. Basically, as a developer, you would definitely not want to write a simple Apex class and say create an Apex class, and you get the code, you get a result over here in the response that, okay, I have created an Apex class. So let's consider basically a use case over here. For example, you have been given a requirement to generate the code whenever an opportunity is closed, right? If an opportunity is set to closed one, you basically say you generate a quote in Salesforce. You copy all the opportunity line items as a quote line item, and you also mark quote as primary quote under that opportunity. This is a simple requirement that you have got from your team lead or from your senior dev, and you basically have to develop it. So what basically you have to do now here, you will have to basically sorry, you will have to provide the context of your prompt as well. So now what you are saying is, you say create an Apex class named code generator, which will accept the list of closed on opportunities. And I really don't have written these commands like handy with me, so I will have to type it. Please forgive the typo mistakes. You say create an Apex class named code generator, which will accept the list of closed on opportunity, and generate generate the codes related to that opportunity, code for that opportunity. Then you can also mention copy all the opportunity lines to quote line, and make that opportunity as closed one. Okay, sorry, not opportunity. Make that generated quote as primary on opportunity. Now what I'm saying here is basically I'm providing some context where I'm saying there has to be a class called code generator, and I can also mention here class code generator, and then create a method generate code. So I'm also giving the name of my method, so they will basically the LLM will basically utilize my method name, and then I'm saying which will accept the list of closed on opportunities, and then generate the code. The context, basically I have provided certain context over here, and when we basically send it to LLM, what LLM is going to do is now it is going to think and it is going to write the code for me. So it might be a simple code, it might be a huge code, or maybe I'm basically asking this LLM to generate this code in the basically chunks. Like for example, I just say, okay, go ahead, generate the code. Now modify it to generate the lines. Now modify it to make that code as primary. Utilize the custom metadata to get some sort of taxes based on the countries and states, and then apply the taxes to the codes. You can basically extend this. You keep asking, and LLM is going to give you the answer. Now this is the class which we have got. Let's basically copy this class. I'll open it and paste it in a different tab. Or maybe what I will do is I'll create this class and I will copy paste the code there, so that whatever the error we are getting, we will not get that error. So this is basically the code it has generated for us. Now if you see the class, the method, it's not returning anything because our context doesn't says that that method has to return anything. It is accepting the list of opportunities, and it takes basically the variable names whatever we have said. It has got quote, opportunity line items, quote line item, opportunities. It is not mapping all the fields while generating the quote, but it is giving you the skeleton which can help you to basically map other fields that you want. Then basically finally it is doing all these things. It's just inserting the quote line items, and then after all sorry, and then finally it is trying to utilize some custom fields. I can basically modify my context that do not use this custom field, do not use any custom field, or you can also provide your custom objects or API names or custom field API name. This is basically going to work. um, Kathy, can we prevent people to do the annotations?
Yes, sure.
Guys, please don't do this. This is not a good thing that you guys are doing. How to clear all this, I'm not sure.
Just give me a moment. You may continue.
Okay, yeah, sure. So in this case, we have basically given some sort of context over here, right? Now with this context, and what problem do you see here in this particular generated code that we have got? So the problem is that this particular class is basically running in without sharing mode. It's not running in the user mode. It's not taking basically the context of the user. Then if we talk about the queries, there is no security basically consideration has been made, which says that hey, I'm going to have like with the user mode or with security mode, with security enforced or something like that. Similarly, for any DML, there is no security constants which are being taken care, right? This then comes basically the third part, which is when we talk about the best practices. So far, what we talked about is number one is action. Action is simple, creating the Apex classes. Then we talk about action with context, where we said, hey, could you please create Apex class and perform some sort of operations like generating the code. And now we are going to talk about action with context and best practices. So this is basically, now we have to modify this. So let's go ahead and copy the same context. Okay, put it, and then next what I will do is I'll basically do copy paste. I have got something over here. I would say just one more line I will put over here. I would say make sure the generated code follows security best practices by Salesforce. This is what basically I'm going to do over here. Now, as soon as we basically provide this, we say that, hey, these are the best practices that you need to follow. I'm just talking about the security best practices. You could basically mention all other best practices like the naming convention or any other best practices that Salesforce actually follows. Now you will see that this particular basically class will generate in such a way that it is following some sort of security best practices, but is still not following all. Okay, and you might have to basically explain that into your command. So let me see here, copy paste the code again, and this time we will not see basically that it has followed all the best practice. It has only basically added into the Apex class. That's it. It has not added for any DML. It has not added for any SOQL statement. You can go ahead, modify that, and this is where basically we need to think through, and we really need to make sure that we provide the correct prompts with the context and all the best practices. So we are going to change now, make sure the by Salesforce, and we can basically provide the examples as well. For any DML, use user mode, like insert as user. For SQL queries, use user mode, and for Apex class, use user mode. So I'm just saying that explicitly put all those things. And all these examples basically can be taken care by your LLM, and if you hit enter, and this time it should basically generate a different code which is actually following some sort of best practices. Okay, it's not, looks like LLM is not listening, and that is where basically your LLM is now hallucinating. At least at one point it has hallucinated where the Apex class is running in without sharing mode. However, it should run with sharing mode. But for all other places, it has actually corrected my generated code, and you can clearly see. This is a simple thing you can easily do. You can change it from without sharing to with sharing. But if you see, the DML has been changed, query has got with user mode, then again the DML has got user mode, then finally again the DML has got user mode. That is basically how you are going to uh, perform actions with context and best practices. This was about generating the Apex classes, right? Now you have got this Apex class, which is code generator. You might wanted to basically say, hey, I want now the test class for this Apex class. So what you can do is, you will see there is something called add context. Click on that add context, select your Apex class from here. In my case, it is code generator. Now you have got the class which is selected over here. And then what you have to do is, if you see what it says, forward slash, and as soon as you write forward slash, you got three different commands. One is explaining the code. I'll talk about that. But we really want to have the test classes. So we will select test, hit enter. So what it will do is, whatever the context that you have added for this particular context, it will generate the test class. And you will see that now all the test class, the complete test class is getting generated for my Apex class, for the class which we have just written, with all the asserts and all, everything has been basically added over here. And now I can go ahead basically put this particular code in my Apex class, the test class that I want to generate. And then basically we go ahead and say, okay, we test it. If there are some changes to be made, we can go ahead and make those changes. Second option that we have seen in the same command when while we put forward slash is that document. There is a very important basically step is that every developer is being asked to provide a proper comments for your code, what exactly your code does, and what is the purpose of this code when this code has been written, and all other details. And that basically can be done with the help of this forward slash document. So if you select forward slash document and you keep this particular context selected, what it will do is basically it will try to write the document for your Apex class. For the key things, it will try to write the document for this. And the last one is basically to explain the code base. Sometimes we as a developer really don't understand what exactly the code is written, or maybe the person who has written the code is not there with the organization anymore. So we can basically utilize this explain, which is again provided by Agentforce, which will help you to understand what exactly has been written into that Apex class. It will give you the breakdown, step by step details, what this class does and what is the purpose of that class. So you can see here the complete detail has been given to me. Sometimes it might hallucinate, it might not give you the correct details, in the sense it might not give you the exact details about what the code does, but most of the time it basically gives you the information that you are looking for. So this was related to your Apex classes. Similarly, you can basically generate the Lightning Web Component as well. For example, I would say create a Lightning Web Component which will be used to display the sessions with the RSVP button, and then I can add the context like that. The RSVP button should only be visible or enabled if there are available maybe seats, right? And then basically you can just hit enter. So it is basically going to generate the Lightning Web Component. What is the object name and fields you are using to store the session data? So you now again have got the question. It is more likely a clarifying question, so that it gives you what exactly you're looking for. So I will say the details are stored in session underscore object. I said, okay, my all details are being stored into a custom object called session. Then it is again asking me what are the fields that you want to have. So I will, you want me to display, I would say, make the decision by yourself. So I'm just saying, okay, go ahead. I don't have the information. So, but again, it is asking certain question. I really don't want to answer because that will basically take some time, but you can provide the details like maybe, for example, you have got title, you've got description, like you have got maybe max seats, something like that. You have got speakers, and you once you provide the details, it basically gives you start generating. It's trying to generate the controller. However, we have asked about Lightning Web Component. So it again got basically hallucinated and it didn't understand the context clearly. But you just give the information, maybe more clear command, and it will basically generate a particular component. Let me see if I have one component over here. I really don't have the command for this components, but I'll skip that for now. Okay. Let's say that you've got a Lightning Web Component. Then Salesforce also says that you should write the just cases for LWC as well. Those are really important in terms of testing the Lightning Web Component with all possible scenarios, positive or negative scenario. Then for that, we basically have got this Agentforce agents. This helps you to write the test class for your Apex class as well as for your LWC. For Apex class, basically it needs some sort of Apex language server, which is not kind of set up or enabled in my VS Code, so I would not be able to use it. But to use it, you have to use Apex. Select the file you want, maybe code generator. You need to select a method. Now, as soon as I say select method, it says we couldn't generate unit test because of this Apex language server is not set up or detected in my machine. I will have to take a look how basically this works and what exactly it is. But whenever you select the Apex test method, you select the test file, it actually maybe I would say create a new file. But still there would be an option to select the method. Without selecting a method, you will not see this generate button to be enabled. But this really works. It was working earlier, but due to some, I think, recent installation that I made in my PC, this has basically stopped working. For LWC, you need to select LWC, click on choose component and select whatever the component you want. For example, I would say course style, click on generate. It will take some time and it will generate basically the test case for me, and then it will also ask me to accept the test case that Salesforce has generated. If I'm okay, I can go ahead and say, okay, yeah, I'm happy for you to generate the test case and I will accept it. In the meantime, it is basically generating the test case. Let's get back to the Apex classes where we said, where we are talking about all this, basically the context, not context, especially the best practices part. You might have a question that, hey, Amit, we have our organization best practices. We really don't want to utilize what Salesforce provide, or maybe we want to utilize 50-50. So is there any way that I can impose my own practices, my own organization best practices uh, for Agentforce for developers, so that I really don't need to write again and again that follow the with sharing concept or with user mode, or maybe insert as user, whenever writing the test classes or test method, follow certain pattern for writing the asserts. Is there any way that we can apply it? So we really have a way, and that is what we will see. Before that, if you see, it has got me a test class generated for me, and it has basically given this piece of code. I would say, okay, go ahead and accept it and click on done. The test file is generated for me, and I can go ahead review it later on. If I want, I can remove it. If I want, I can keep it. It's up to basically you after you have reviewed the code. Okay. So that's basically you write the just test cases for LWC. Now, as we talked about the best practices, how you basically apply your best practices. So Agentforce basically gives you the ability that you write your own rules. You can write your own rules, and those rules must be sitting inside the folder called .sfdx. This is your folder where basically you are going to apply the rules. Now we have got two folders, so I'll just confirm which one it is. Yeah, it is .sfdx. Under this folder, you have to create one more folder called A4D, which is Agentforce for developers. And under this folder, you have to create another folder called rules. And under this rules folder, you can have the basically files, your rules, and how you will write. That is what I'm going to tell you. So let's create a file here. I'll just take the name of my file that I want to create. And I have got all the best practices, so I'll just copy paste. So the file name is apexbestpractices.md. It should be a .md file, which is basically where you are going to write all your rules in the markdown file. And you can also have the same thing for your LWC. So I'm also going to basically create a file for LWC, which would be LWC style guide.md. Currently, there is nothing inside this class, inside these files. So for my Apex best practices, I will copy paste and I will walk you through basically what is the best way and how basically you have to write. So these are some of the best practices you might be already aware about. First of all, you have to start with this rule. You need to provide what is the rule name, like Apex best practices. Then the description about that rule. then for which files this rule is going to apply. Like I'm saying, for all the .cls files and all the .trigger files. And then what are your rules? What are your guidelines that you want to basically apply to Agentforce? It says class name must be in Pascal case, method name must be in camel case, variable name must be in camel case and descriptive. So we have given here Boolean variable must start with is, has, or can. These are all the variable names, the examples that we are giving. We are talking about the collections, then we are talking about constants. Then we said avoid abbreviation for the single variables, example SCC and account. Then we got avoid SQL and YAML inside for loops. These are all the best practices that I really want my basically Agentforce to follow while basically suggesting me the code or while generating the code. And that is really going to basically help me. Similarly, for Lightning Web Component, I haven't added all the best practices, but these are some of the best practices that I have already applied to. Like the rule, what is the rule? LWC template structure. I've got description, then I've got .html files, and these are some of the guidelines that I have given. Now you can create your JavaScript rules as well. So it works for Apex, it works for JavaScript, it works for HTML files, which are your Lightning Web Component. And now if you basically once after you have added all these rules, and if you go back to your context again, where I would say the very first when we generated the Apex code, let's copy this piece of command again, and this time what I'll do is I'll remove this, make sure this part, and let's see what basically the code is generated. So that's what basically we wanted to cover today. Khyati, over to you. Any questions or anything that we want to have?
Thank you so much, Amit, for such an insightful session. This is again one of the very important topics that is running in the market right now. So thank you for being here. Thank you everyone for joining.